a challenge just to pick my way through. I've never seen a lake this shallow. Well, I'm at the lake where I got one of my canoes stashed, and the lake looks pretty damn low. I'm really concerned that I might not be able to get through. It looks really low. You know, some years you can't see any of this vegetation, and some years the river might, the lake might be 3 feet higher than other years. And there's a rock in the middle there where you can see an old watermark that is evidence of that. I'll show you that when I'm closer to it. It's way over there. Yeah, hopefully I can get through here and onto the next lake, which is considerably deeper, and where I've got my other canoe stashed. So this one's right where I left it. Looks like it may have been used once or twice. A couple scrapes along the bottom, but whatever. Anybody who can find it is free to use it as long as they put it back the way they found it. One of the great things about living in Nova Scotia, I mean, it's a small province of Canada. You stash your canoe in the woods, there is a 99.9% chance it'll be right where you left it when you go back to find it. And the trail leading to this spot is very hard to find. And if you didn't take a trail here, you would have a really, really rough go of it getting through the woods. Even as it is, I don't know if you can tell, but even with my trail, here you can see the dry and the wet. My pants are soaked. These were literally shiny wet, right? And I could feel the water dripping down into my socks. So yeah, it's very wet. And the flies have found me because I've stopped moving, so I better put some dope on because it's getting pretty. I've got a cloud of black flies around me, and I'm about to be eaten alive. So I'm gonna dope up, get this canoe in the woods or in the water, and see you at the next stage of the video. Pretty dicey operation here. Hopefully the camera isn't too shaky. I got it chest mounted, and it's less than ideal for paddling, let's just put it that way. Anyway, I'm on my knees here and I'm perched up as high as I can get so I can navigate this, because the lake is so low that many rocks that wouldn't otherwise be a problem are exposed, and it's a bit of a challenge just to pick my way through. I've never seen a lake this shallow. Holy smokes. I don't know how I'm going to get through this, or if I can get through it. Like right now I'm beached and there's no way through over there. I guess I have to get out. I think I have to get out and walk on these rocks here, right? And just get to the next section and see what we're working with. So, see what I can do. Well, I went through a really rough patch over there. I pretty much had to, you know, be on my knees and use all my strength just to push through that. I found something here that looks like a channel. So hopefully I can navigate. It looks like over there where that big rock is, it opens up a bit, and this end of the lake is sort of like a swamp. Basically, it's become a swamp. But again, the water level, I'd say 2-3 feet below normal. There's a rock over there, we can actually gauge that because you can see the markings on it, what the sort of typical depth is. All right, so let's paddle over there and have a look. All right, so I came from way over there, and I sort of went along the edge here because there was a little bit of water depth. That was all, the middle part was unnavigable. When I get to these rocks, I was stopped dead, and it was very difficult to get myself unstuck. And I got up on the rocks and moved the canoe over to the shore here. So now I'm on the shore, and I want to go over there. So I think I'm just going to portage the canoe. Sorry for the wind. Just gonna drag the canoe over, oh, you know, about 100 yards or so to where the lake seems to open up. And that's just what you got to do, right? This is all just, you know, a cranberry bog or whatever you want to call this. Sometimes this is underwater. But anyway, I'll take the canoe over there and canoe it from there. So you can see over here this rock, big rock. You can see that black line. It's about 3 feet above the white. And that black line is lichen, and there's a gray line underneath it and then white. And that shows you that, you know, more often than not, in terms of years and decades, not week to week, but decade to decade, that the water is usually about 2 or 3 feet higher than it is now, right? So I've lived here for going on 12 years, and it's only the last 3 years the water's been lower and lower and lower. And there's many possible reasons, but the main reason is that the beavers in this lake maintain a dam at the bottom of the lake, and they control the depth of the water in this lake. And if they want it deep, they make the dam bigger. And if they want it shallow, they bust the dam up. And for whatever reason, right now they want the lake shallow. Don't know why. There's plenty of water, plenty of rain, plenty of water. We always get lots of rain here. So I mean, they can make it as deep as they want. But for whatever reason, they want it shallow. So it's not a pleasant, at least at this stage of the journey, it's not a pleasant paddle experience at all. It's just hard work. But we'll be at that other lake soon enough. Hopefully the rest of the lake will be easier paddling. So we'll see where she goes. Well, here I am at the other end of the lake, and as I'd hoped, the paddling wasn't so bad. It was fairly open, that section of it. Now I'm just gonna pull my canoe up on shore and then go and find the other canoe that I stashed last fall and take that on the second lake, bigger, deeper, more open, hopefully full of trout lake. There are trout in this lake, but I'm not even going to bother fishing. I'm not seeing any rises. The water's really low. My guess is that any trout that were here probably retreated because of the water temperature and all that sort of stuff to the bigger lower lake. Who knows? There's probably 1 or 2 in here. I'm sure there is, but it's just not worth my while at this point. I'm keen to get to the other lake. I'm kind of floored. I mean, what you're looking at here is the remnants of a beaver dam, right? For years and years and years. And even, I think 2 years ago, I think it was either last year or the year before that, I came all the way back here and portaged and dragged my canoe over a dam that was right here. And now it's gone. And you can see a little further down, either remnants of that dam or other sort of secondary dams the beavers had built lower along this little river, right? This is a very short river that connects 2 lakes together. Completely unnavigable, never has been navigable. And there's no trout in it, other than little tiny ones, right? Anyway, yeah, you can see little remnants either of the secondary dam, which I think that's what it is, or just pieces of this dam. But I mean, when I got to this lake, I saw a beaver in the lake. But I don't know what they're doing. Either they moved on or they died or what. But they are not maintaining the depth of the water. I mean, you can see the full height of the dam about 3 feet above current depth, right? So, you know, for whatever reason, the beavers have, I don't think anybody's back here trapping them or anything like that. I've never seen any sign of that in all the years I've lived here. I think it's just a natural flow of things where the river, you know, the Beaver dams the lake for various reasons, and then they, you know, undam the lake and let it sort of revert back to the state it was before they dammed it. It must be cyclical. Anyway, I got a canoe down there somewhere. Let's go find it. And there we go, right where I left it last, I think it was October. Haven't been out here since, and it's June, but it looks exactly the way it looked when I left it. And it looks like the paint has held up. No flaking, no peeling. And the patches are still, looks fine. Yeah. Great. And I got it, see how I got it sort of propped up off the ground so it doesn't rot out. This is a mistake people make when they stash canoes. They don't let the air get underneath it. Right? You got to do that. And then they stay the way you left them. Anyway, the river's right over there. Just drag this thing over, get her in the water. Hopefully there's enough water in the river to paddle. Otherwise, this whole thing's been for nothing. My goodness, what a lovely old canoe. I'm so glad I didn't leave this back in the woods to rot. It paddles so well. It's so smooth in the water. I mean, you gotta hand it to these old fiberglass canoes. They're not light, but they're not super heavy, right? And this one here is very sort of round and tippy in a sense, but as long as you've got good balance, it's no big deal. And if you get down low in the canoe, it's very, very, very stable. And I've had this in some pretty bad waves, no problems, right? But this is just the design of this. It has no real keel, so it does not draw any water at all. Now, I should be casting, but I'm into the wind here, so I think on the way back I'll do some casts in this part, in this river here. This is the more wide open part of the river that leads to the next lake, but it's very short journey. I've caught trout on the fly, on dry flies, in this part of the river using the Nova Scotia mayfly and the Royal Coachman. Some days I don't think it matters what you use. You know, people get so specific with flies, but sometimes it does seem to matter. And other times it doesn't matter at all. And I'm not experienced enough fly fisherman to know the difference, to know why that's the case. But my goodness, it's so nice being back here. I gotta say, when I was going through the first lake, and it was so shallow and so difficult going, I almost gave up and went home. But I mean, it hiked all the way to the first canoe. You know, once you get to this part, it's very easy going because you got decent water, and this lake has, generally speaking, better fishing, although if it's a windy, it can be less than ideal. I don't know why. I don't mean it's hard to cast and stuff. I just mean for whatever reason, when it's windy, the fish don't seem to bite as much. You know, there doesn't seem to be as many rises. They just don't seem to be active. Don't know why. And I haven't been out here a million times, so it might have just been the case that it happened to be windy on the day I was out there, and the fish happened to not be biting on that day. Might have nothing to do with wind. Anyway, we're coming out to the lake here. Just gonna leave the camera on so you can have that experience. Sorry if it's a bit windy. That's just all part of it here. It's a windy part of the province. Sort of not super high elevation, but I guess for Nova Scotia it's high elevation. Maybe 200 meters above sea level or 100 meters above sea level. I'd have to double check on Google Earth to know for sure. But here we are at the upper end of the lake. I tried a few casts around. I've never caught anything in this part of the lake. Doesn't mean there isn't fish here, I just haven't. Anyway, I'm going to kill the camera and have a little snack and get to the part of the lake where I think the fish is. I'm actually going to paddle the whole lake, the whole perimeter, because I haven't been back here for a number of years, and even the last time I was here I didn't do the whole lake, and I want to see what state the cabin, there's a few cabins back here and all that sort of stuff. I want to see what state they're in. Anyway, sign off for now, have a little snack. Well, I've paddled most of the lake now. It's been about an hour paddling. I'm kind of tired, just looking at the old cabins and stuff like that, having a look around. This is a large lake. Well, no, this is not a large lake. For Nova Scotia, this is a larger lake because we have a lot of tiny lakes. But you know, compared to you know, anything sizable, and this might be a few kilometers long. I'd have to look at it on a map to know exactly. But yeah, it's not an enormous lake, but it's got lots of little nooks and crannies and different fingers and that sort of thing. It's not just like a circle or an oval or a rectangle. It's got all kinds of different islands and corners and bends and that sort of thing. Relatively, I suppose one could get lost in a lake like this. Where I came from is way over there. I got to go over there. The wind's taking me that way, and I'm inclined to just let it do that. I'm actually going to sit on the floor of this canoe and just recline back and take it easy and wait to get over there. I'm going to let the wind do the work. Because why not, right? I got lots of time on them and no rush. I could paddle hard and get over there in probably 5-10 minutes, but why not just take it easy? You know, have a few casts. I don't, you know, like when the lake is windy like this, it's quite windy. I don't tend to, I don't know why, but the fish don't seem to rise and they don't seem to feed. I'm sure you can catch fish if you troll and troll and troll with a motor. And you can see with all the different rocks jutting out of the lake, it's probably a treacherous lake to motorboat. Even in the canoe here, even going carefully, I've run into a few rocks that were just like an inch or two below the surface. So I mean, you'd have to really know the lake to get an outboard motor going here, that sort of thing. But and I haven't noticed a lot of lakes that people use a lot, like high traffic lakes, they'll have Javex bottles and stuff like that with a rope and a weight to tell you, you know, where not to go, markers, right? Buoys say don't come, you know, don't go any closer to shore than this, don't go any closer to shore than that, sort of thing. There's nothing like that. I've seen one thing like that on this lake, and there's no rocks near that, so I'm not even sure what that buoy is for. It could be, this is a great place to tie your canoe up and fish, who knows? It's way over there somewhere. I might give it a try on my way out. Anyway, I'm just going to take it easy and let the wind take me over there, and I'll see you in a little bit. I gotta say, it's been about 4 hours since I hit the woods, sort of thing. I canoed and casted all over the place in the lake, and I'm actually heading back. I'm still not at the first lake, I'm still in the second lake, heading up the river to the first lake. And I just decided to, you know, make a couple casts, and I landed this nice 12-incher speckled trout. So maybe I can get a few more here, who knows, right? But it just goes to show you should never give up. You know, I'm getting kind of hungry and I'm physically tired because it was really windy and wavy on the other lake, and I had to put a lot of energy into my paddling. And I know I've got a lot of work to do to get up the other lake because it's so shallow, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, you're here, you might as well, you know, make a cast and try. And boom, nice trout. So I'll dispatch this guy and try for a couple more. All right, so we got the Lake 2 canoe back in its storage spot. A few new bumps and bruises, and the original red coming through. But yeah, totally fine. Maybe in a couple of years I'll give it another coat. But yeah, this canoe works wonderful. All the patches, everything's held up well. I just spent 3 hours in it, even though I didn't film much of it. Really happy with it. It's a real joy to paddle. And I guess it does have a keel, but it paddles much better than the other canoe. Anyway, gotta go find the other canoe and slog my way across that unbelievably shallow lake. My goodness, it's so nice here. I don't want to go back to civilization, but I know it's temporary. Right now there's a good wind, and it's keeping the flies at bay. But you go anywhere where there's no wind, and the black flies and the horse flies and the deer flies, which are already active, will get to you and drive you mad. But right now it's nice. I got a trout. I can make a nice meal. I got, you know, a water bottle. I can boil tea. Plenty of these guys kicking around to make a meal of. But yeah, it's time to head home and wrestle with this unbelievably shallow lake. I did some casts here, didn't hook into anything. I'm sure there's a couple trout there, but for whatever reason they're not interested in me. It's just not an ideal day for fishing for whatever reason, or I'm doing something wrong, who knows. Anyway, I got out for a nice hike and canoe ride and caught some fish. I thought I'd show you my kit, just what I bring with me for those that are interested, for a sort of like day trip like this. I travel very light. I didn't even bring a backpack, right? I got this pack here is for my camera gear, but it has a little thing for water, so I bring a metal water bottle full of water, but I can always make more water, right, by making a fire. And you know, if I got stranded, right now this time of year you can't make fires until after 2 p.m. and some days you can't make them until after 7 p.m. and some days you can't make them at all. But anyway, in a pinch, you know, if I was stuck overnight for whatever reason, I could make drinkable water with this. That goes here. My camera gear, a lot of it goes in here, and in here as well, you know, for different, you know, the chest mount and all that sort of stuff. But there's enough room in there for a little snack or whatever, and you know, a few odds and ends. So I had an apple and a banana in there. I tend to travel very light. I mean, you're not gonna die of starvation in the course of a day, right? So you know, you basically leave the house full and come home hungry, and you don't have as much to carry. Because this is the bag I always take when I go out in the woods with my camera. I got, you know, a whistle here, and there's nothing else in there. And here there's an emergency blanket. I think there's a pack of matches in there. And then I got my fishing kit here, which is just, it's mostly fishing stuff, right? But I think in here I've got some toilet paper and some extra gear, a pair of reading glasses, and I think in here, so this is a tackle box for fly fishing. This is one for spin fishing, so I always bring a spinning rod and a fly rod. And it's funny today because I brought like a $200 fly rod, $200 reel. My wife bought me this for my birthday, you know, over a decade ago. I probably made a couple hundred casts with that fly rod. Didn't make anything happen. And the only trout I caught was on this $5 pack rod that I bought in an Army Navy store back in the 90s. Still going. Anyway, yeah, on the sides here I've got leader line for fly fishing here, and over here I got bug dope and Bic lighter, and this stuff is for fly fishing. So, you know, really basic gear, but you know, and I've got, of course, a knife around my neck, and I've got a pocket knife and a Bic lighter in my pocket. So 2 ways to make fire, two ways to cut things, a little survival blanket. I mean, it's nice. This is different. It's nice and warm this time of year, so I mean, it can get down to the single digits at night. Yeah, you know, very light. No backpack, nothing. I just put both of these around my waist. I find I prefer this sort of system for this time of year because I get really hot. And this way I can just have everything around my, even got my hoodie. I got a hoodie when I'm just sitting around fishing. I want to keep the sun off my neck and keep the flies out of my ears. I got a really thin, super thin hoodie here. But other than that, just wearing a t-shirt. And everything just goes around my waist. With that sort of system, I can hike and stay cool, right? I can, you know, because it's kind of hard going through the terrain here, so you get kind of hot. I mean, right now it's nice and cool and there's a good breeze, but once you're in the thick woods, it's just hot and humid and sweaty. So, you know, I don't like having a backpack on my back. I want the air at me, sort of thing. I want my skin to breathe as much as possible, but that's me. That's my preference. I mean, most people tend to go a little bit more gear heavy, but yeah, I think like basically 2 fanny packs. One for fishing and one for just whatever else, you know, you got, is easier to do and not, you don't get as hot that way. Of course, you can't carry as much. And of course, the fish I just carry out is attached to a stick, basically. Well, I'm back, and man, this lake is low. But thankfully, the paddle back wasn't so hard because the wind, which I've been cursing all day, was actually my friend on the way back, because it was like having an extra paddler push the canoe along. I also knew which way to go, had a sense of where in that boggy section over there the the channels were, that sort of thing, even though to call them channels is an insult to the word channels. But basically the slightly deeper spots where you can kind of get a canoe through. Not saying if any point I'd stop paddling, the canoe would not move, right? It's in complete contact with, you know, it's like the lily pads and different sort of aquatic plants that are just poking up through the surface and just stop the canoe dead in its tracks. Anyway, I'm gonna put this thing away and hike home and cook up this trout for lunch. So I hope you found this interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, and until next time, enjoy the outdoors on the cheap. Thanks for watching.